All right, we're going to do a quick market recap. Quick might not be the right term. Market recap for 2021. I want to talk through kind of what the year looks like. We do this monthly report, and I talk about houses got more expensive, appreciations here. We don't talk about factors regionally. We don't talk about the whys. We don't talk about how does that impact you specifically very often. So I thought, end of year, let's do a quick recap and see what it looks like. So first thing to notice is on all of our monthly reports, I talk about single family activity. I get a lot of questions about how does multifamily, how does a condo or a townhouse fall into this. So I thought I would show you guys real quick. Single family overview. Let's kind of look at these percent increases over here. So year to date percent increases, 16%, 15%. Right. So there's that's our annual percent increase. Let's take a look at the next one. All property activity, 14%, 14%. So let's go back again. Single family, 3,200 units sold, roughly 16% more than last year. All properties, 4,300, so roughly 1,000 of those were attached, and the price increase was off a little bit, right? So I'll show you this map, or this data set, map, it's a pretty good one. This data set showing, here's appreciation, median sales price between the two, right? This light blue line is single family, dark blue line townhouse. So we can see over time, this is 2010, if you can't read my chart, 2010 all the way to today, right? Maybe December, close enough. So as we walk through here, that's pretty darn close. We can see a divergence right here, maybe 2018, we start to see a little bit of a spread where single family houses in Fort Collins have appreciated a little bit more than townhouses in Fort Collins or attached dwellings in Fort Collins. Maybe right there I can start to see a little bit of a spread, right? So it gets a little bit wider here. Obviously it's quite a bit wider. I can see other places where it was very close, very wide, and it came back to close. I see that all throughout the history. So my assumption is this gap will at some point tighten up again and widen and tighten and widen, but they'll stay relatively similar. So that's why I don't spend a lot of time differentiating through single family and attached. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm gonna buy an attached dwelling because my purchase price is down here at $375 instead of $560, am I gonna lose out on appreciation? Maybe a little, right? It might be a little bit, but you're still in a great market, right? That market is still appreciating very well. So we're gonna look at this all property overview as we walk through the year. 4,331 properties in Fort Collins sold. That's single family houses, attached dwellings. 7.4% fewer than last year. Last year was 4,677, right? A lot of numbers thrown at you. Appreciation, 14.5, 14.7%. So each house in our market is worth 14% more this year than it was last year. That's how that worked out. And then we look at things like days on market, that went down 30%. So our market used to move a lot slower. It's moving a lot faster now, right? So not only are things more expensive, there's fewer of them, and they move faster. It's the same story we've been talking about for probably 2 years. But it's fun to just kind of see it year over year this way. Any of these graphs kind of paint that same picture, right? Look at this one right here, average sales price. We can see that just got huge, right? These numbers used to matter. We used to care a lot about the difference between month over month back here. And now we're like, oh my goodness, look at the steamroller. And here we used to care a lot about the seasonality and the price every month and how this seasonal curve was like, ooh, less expensive in December. Well, now look where we're at. I mean, we just steamrolled past that over 2 years. So that's kind of our general overview of our Fort Collins market. 4,331 properties sold. That is, for fun, here's how many houses. Google thinks we have 67,000 houses in Fort Collins. We kind of did more of a housing inventory, and I think it was more like 77,000 is what we came up with through kind of a collaboration with the city and some other people. So I'm just going to use the number 70,000 between Google and what we came up with. So 70,000 houses in Fort Collins. So 6% of them sold. 6% of Fort Collins sold in 2021. So that's kind of a neat figure, right? If there's 100 houses in your neighborhood, 6 of them should have sold last year, and then your neighborhood's on average. If less, you're below. If more, then you were above. But that's kind of how the Fort Collins housing market's turning over. What kinds of things are impacting this cost, right? Why is this cost here? There's so many factors we can't even possibly cover them all. I'll throw a few out there. One, money's less valuable, so everything's a little more expensive, housing included. Two, the city of Fort Collins has some rules about what constitutes a house now, right? So a house used to be something you could build kind of by yourself without a lot of rules, and it was a house. And many of those houses are strewn all through Old Town, they're still here. Well, you can't build those anymore, right? Our new codes have required different things of houses, and so they require new expenses to go into our newer housing. So all of our new housing is more expensive, not just market expensive, more expensive, but then increased by what we ask houses to be through all kinds of different codes. And then we talk about what has Fort Collins done specifically, not just with codes, but with all of this green around Fort Collins, all this unbuildable area around Fort Collins. That's our open spaces, that's our parks, that's our trail system, has been purchased up with Larimer County dollars, State of Colorado dollars, City of Fort Collins dollars, to create kind of this open space moat right around Fort Collins that says you can't build outside of this, right? This is all unbuildable space. So everything in there is now just going to disproportionately get more expensive because it's a very, very tight controlled space. What is this, 7 miles by 6 miles? It's roughly 56 square miles, I think, is the city, including all the little chunks around here. But when we recognize that, right, we've built a moat, an unbuildable moat around Fort Collins. Fort Collins cannot physically grow out, it can only grow up. Growing up is very expensive, so our prices are just going to increase. So now we're going to talk about where is all this new construction that's happening in our region. Well, Wellington, Windsor. I think Windsor's probably our biggest driver. Windsor has the ability to put in, I think, 110,000 more houses without having to do anything to their zoning map. They've already platted out, I think, 110,000 houses available in Windsor. Then we look at communities like Greeley, Evans, Eaton, Nunn, Pierce is in here. Loveland has the chance to grow dramatically still. There's a lot of buildable space in Loveland. Berthoud has really restricted their ability to build. Johnstown can still build. So we have this area, it's a C shape right over here around Fort Collins that we can still grow pretty easily in northern Colorado. Trying to go west is going to be hard, right? To grow west, everything has to be on 35 acres or it has to go through a big development review process to build out here in the county. So this is where we're going to see it. If you're a buyer and you're thinking, how do I move to the area, or I want to move to a bigger house, or I want to relocate, or whatever your buyer reason is, if you're looking for newer, this is where you're going to end up. That's a good thing to know ahead of time, right? So you're not thinking, I'm going to get a new house in Fort Collins for that average price. Mostly you're going to end up outside of Fort Collins in those prices. Let's see here. Okay, so there's a few reasons why Fort Collins prices are going to get more expensive as time passes. There's a few kind of tidbits about where our house is available. And so how does that impact you personally, right? So we know that 6% of us want 6 out of every 100 of us changed houses last year. Well, what if you're next, right? If you're like, well, I'm thinking about doing that in 2022. What do I do? How does this information impact me? And so we think about things like there's a new school coming in right here-ish, right? There's another new school coming in right here-ish or here-ish. How does neighborhood value change when there's a brand new neighborhood and a brand new school going in next to my neighborhood that's been here for 15 years? Does that help me, hurt me? Should I wait for that development to be finished? Should I just go ahead and do it now? Each house is so different, right? Each one of us is so different, and so we have to get out of this aggregate data and out of this averages and medians and look at you specific and say, all right, what are your goals? What do you want from your house? What do you have in your house? What are the factors impacting your house directly? And we take that picture, and then we can kind of look at this average after that. So as a buyer or a seller, you have to think through, how does this impact me? What do I do with this information? How do I use this information to my benefit in this market? And so that's what we spend all day doing. We're in this conference room constantly talking with clients about how do we use this knowledge to help you get your deal in this marketplace. And so anyway, that's our quick recap of the year, our quick, hey, here's some factors impacting cost of housing here in Fort Collins that we focus on all year long. And then that offer to say, if you want help navigating it, we're here to navigate it with you, talk through it with you, and educate you with every piece of knowledge we have in the real estate world. So reach out if you want that information. If you want to have a conversation about it, reach out. If I can be useful to you, reach out. Thanks.